Hey y'all, welcome back to this cold garage. I want to do something fun today. I want to compare ChatGPT's top 5 Kiss albums versus my top 5 favorite Kiss albums and see if they're similar, see, what the deal is. Because, a lot of times AI just scrapes a bunch of other people's opinions and makes their own. And I'm curious how close my opinion is to ChatGPT. I think it would be fun. And I've done a full ranking of the Kiss Studio albums. I'll put a link somewhere in here, and you can check that out if you want to know what I think of the rest of the catalog. But I'm just curious. I want to fight ChatGPT and see who's going to come out on top. So we're going to head over to the computer and take a look. But before we do, remember, do me a solid, like and subscribe, YouTube it up. And now let's head over and see what ChatGPT has to say. Alright, so here we are. We're at the screen. We can go ahead and take a look at what I asked ChatGPT. So I said, do a reverse 5-to-1 ranking of the top 5 Kiss albums. Exclude live albums, but include their 1978 solo albums if you think they're worthy. Give me 2 standout tracks per album and a reasoning why you rank them where you do. So that's what I asked ChatGPT. This is what they said. All right, now we're talking. A reverse countdown gives this the drama it deserves. Exactly. We're sticking to studio releases, and yes, those wild 1978 solo albums are on the table. Here comes Spot. If they earn their spot. Here's the reverse ranked top 5 Kiss albums, 5-to-1, with reasons and 2 standout tracks each. See what I got to put up with all the time? Crazy. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put ChatGPT's 5 over here, and then I'll put my 5 over on this side, and we'll just see how similar they are, how different they are, who's got the better one. We'll see what happens here. So number 5 for ChatGPT, Paul Stanley's solo album. Crazy, did not expect that, because most people would pick Ace's solo album. Weird to see Paul's on here. But while Gene, Ace, and Peter all went weird or experimental with their solo records, Paul delivered what basically sounds like a lost classic Kiss album. Polished, passionate, and full of hooks, it's the most Kiss-sounding of the solo albums, and arguably stronger than several full-band efforts in the late 70s. I don't disagree with that. I don't really think Ace went weird or experimental on his album. Gene and Pete, sure, maybe. But Ace, I don't think so, and it's just crazy because most people consider Ace as the best. But yeah, their standout tracks, Tonight You Belong to Me, starts tender, then rips into a monster riff and soaring vocals of Paul Stanley anthem through and through. Agreed. Wouldn't You Like to Know Me, Power Pop Perfection, nice. Catchy, confident, and criminally underrated. I would 100% agree with that. 100%. So their number 5 is Paul Stanley. My number 5 is the debut album, Kiss, from 1974. It's just hard to argue those classic tracks that basically formed the, here comes Spot again, basically formed the basis of their set list for 50 years. All right, Spot, here, say hello. Say hello. Meow. Okay. All right, so let's go to number 4. Number 4, they got Rock and Roll Over. I think you just saw a sneak peek of the next one. Number 4 is Rock and Roll Over. Why It's Here, a raw back-to-basics record after the polish of Destroyer. It's a no-BS rock album with sharp production and some of the best interplay between Paul and Gene. Ace and Peter shine too, giving it an authentic band energy. Do not disagree. Rock and Roll Over is a great, great record. Standout tracks, Mr. Speed. A deep cut, but one of their best grooves. Paul's vocals are ultra smooth here. Calling Dr. Love, Gene in full demon mode, catchy and sinister with a stomping riff. I don't disagree. I wouldn't necessarily pick Calling Dr. Love, but it was an important, it was the single from the album. It's weird that, like, Hard Luck Woman's not on there, or I Want You for that matter. But that's cool. I don't disagree with it. So far, ChatGPT, you're 2 for 2, doing pretty well. My number 4 was actually Paul Stanley's solo album. So I'm not the only one. ChatGPT apparently agrees with me that Paul's solo album should be on here. Crazy. All right, so number 3 is Creatures of the Night, 1982. Okay? Why It's Here. This album is a fist through the wall after a rocky period. rocky period. With makeup still on, but music getting heavier, Kiss reinvented themselves with a more aggressive sound. Eric Carr's drums are thunderous and the production is punchy. It's the heaviest Kiss ever sounded in the 80s. Do not disagree, and I'm glad that they mentioned Eric Carr's drum sound because that's the identifying trademark of this album. Those drums are some of the best drums ever recorded. Standout tracks: Creatures of the Night, blistering opener, massive drums, and a dangerous vibe. War Machine, Riff City, Gene sounds like a tank rolling over everything. Once again, I don't disagree. It's weird that they didn't include I Love It Loud on here. Seems like that would have been one that they definitely would have included. But they didn't, and I won't disagree. My number 3 was Love Gun from 1977. As peak Kiss to me. That whole 76-77 period was just peak Kiss. All right, number 2. Love Gun. Look at that. Okay. The final album with all 4 original members contributing meaningfully. It's peak 70s Kiss. Hey, I just said that. Confident, flashy, and shameless, this is the band completely aware of its power, leaning into both sleaze and showmanship with glorious results. True. Standout tracks: Love Gun. Paul's signature track, bombastic, erotic, and ridiculously catchy. It forgot to mention dumb lyrics, but I agree. That's Love Gun is quintessential Kiss. Shocked me. Ace's breakthrough as a frontman. Killer riff, killer solo, killer everything. Once again, don't disagree. Pretty good. My number 2 was Creatures of the Night. So far, we've got a lot of similar albums in our top 5, but our number 1 album's not going to be the same. So I can guarantee you that, because I guarantee that number 1 is probably going to be the cliched number 1 Kiss choice, and it's not on mine, not on my list. But let's scroll down and see who their number 1 or what their number 1 album is. Destroyer. Pretty much, that's obvious to me. This is the epic, the one where Kiss went from a glammy bar band to mythological rock gods. With Bob Ezrin's productions, theatrical flourishes, and ambitious songwriting, Destroyer isn't just a Kiss album. Even Spot's got to come back. It's a statement. The variety is insane. Anthems, ballads, creepy spoken word intros. It's all here and it all works. What is the creepy spoken word intro? Are they saying the intro to Detroit Rock City is creepy? Not really. Spot. Standout tracks: Detroit Rock City, a perfect opener, tragic, thrilling, and cinematic rock. Okay, God of Thunder, straight from the depths, heavy, sludgy, and unforgettable. Okay, don't disagree there. Interesting that Beth isn't included as a standout track on Destroyer. But yeah, I don't disagree with that, even though Destroyer's not in my top 5. But it's, for most people it is, so this is an obvious, easy choice. My number 1 was Rock and Roll Over. We've already talked about it, but Rock and Roll Over is, like I said, definitive Kiss. You were just determined, man. She's going crazy today. But yeah, Rock and Roll Over also got one of the greatest album covers in music history. I'm going to put Spot down now. Ugh. They give some honorable mentions, so let's just see what their honorable mentions are. Ace Frehley's 78 solo album, very close to making the list. Rip It Out and Snowblind are absolute rippers. There you go. Still shocked that Ace's album is ranked lower than Paul's in this in ChatGPT here. Revenge, their best non-makeup album, hands down. It's right up there with me, along with Asylum, as far as unmasked albums. And there's a third one here, but it won't let me scroll down anymore. The third one is Kiss 1974 debut. So yeah, my number 5 album, they've got it as an honorable mention. They put historic, raw, and influential, just barely edged out by Paul's solo record. Which is interesting because on my list, I've got the debut album ranked right below Paul's solo album. Crazy. And they also say, you agree with that top spot, or do you think Love Gun or Creatures deserves the crown? Well, I don't. I think Rock and Roll Over deserves the crown. But what about you? What do you think? Let me know. Let me know. Get it? Let me know. So yeah, that's kind of weird. It's very similar to my picks. The numbers are a little different. But as far as top 5, they're pretty close. And I'm most shocked that Paul Stanley's solo album is in this top 5. I never would have expected this because most people claim that, most people prefer Ace Frehley's solo album, and I can see why, and that's cool and all. So just to see that Paul's made ChatGPT's list is weird. I always thought I was weird for putting it in there, but I guess there's other people that feel the same way I do about it, and some of them just happen to be AI. Crazy, right? So anyway, what are your top 5 Kiss albums? Let me know. And who do you think had a better list, me or ChatGPT? I'm curious. I'm curious to see if I can beat them. And of course, I'm going to do some more of these with other artists in the future. So if there's any other artists you would like to see me fight ChatGPT over, let me know. Let me know. Anyway, thanks for watching. Remember, do me a solid, like and subscribe. It helps out. And I'll see you next time. Stay fresh, cheese bags.